An old woman, quiet and unnoticed, walks down a dusty street, her every step measured and deliberate. To the world, she's just a harmless, elderly neighbor, no one to fear, no one to suspect. But what if everything we think we know about her is wrong? When a group of ruthless outlaws target this seemingly defenseless woman, they think it's going to be an easy job. Little do they know, they've just picked the wrong target. What they don't realize is that beneath her frail exterior lies a past shrouded in secrets, one that the CIA desperately tried to erase. As the outlaws close in, they'll learn the hard way that crossing paths with this silent old lady might just be the last mistake they ever make. But what's her game? Why is she so calm, so prepared? Stay tuned to find out, because this is just the beginning. Years ago, when the world still feared the unknown, this woman, Anna Williams, was a name whispered in hushed tones. Once a top CIA operative, she was part of a covert unit so secretive that even her closest colleagues knew little about her missions. Fast forward to today, and she's a ghost. No family, no friends, just a lonely cottage tucked away in a forgotten corner of town. But Anna never truly retired. The agency made sure of that. The Outlaws, a group with a reputation for violence, had no idea what they were walking into. They thought they were simply targeting an easy mark for a quick score. But now, as they watch Anna sip tea in her living room, a chill begins to creep over them. The air is thick with tension, and the realization hits. This isn't going to be as easy as they thought. Who is Anna really, and what's she capable of? The leader of the Outlaws, a man named Colt, paced nervously outside Anna's house. He had led his crew through countless heists, but this time something felt wrong. It wasn't just the way the house stood so eerily silent. It was the way the shadows seemed to stretch unnaturally long, like the very land around her was hiding secrets. He'd been briefed on the target, a vulnerable, elderly woman, but no one had mentioned her connection to the CIA. Inside, Anna remained calm, her fingers lightly tapping on the rim of her teacup. She'd known this day would come. After all these years of living off the grid, her past was catching up with her, and it was coming in the form of Colt and his crew, who had no idea what they were really dealing with. But she wasn't worried. She had already taken precautions. Her old training had never left her. It had only faded into the background of her quiet life. But as the Outlaws grew bolder, testing her patience, Anna's thoughts drifted to a darker time in her life. A time when her past as an operative had been both a blessing and a curse. She had made enemies, dangerous enemies, and now one of them had found her. What they didn't know was that Anna was no ordinary old woman. Meanwhile, Colt's second-in-command, a young and brash man named Jake, had begun to suspect something was off. He noticed the security cameras, the hidden weapons, the meticulous way Anna moved. His gut told him they were in over their heads. But Colt, determined to prove his strength, ignored the warnings. He pushed forward, thinking the old lady was just a pawn in a larger game. But Jake wasn't so sure. As tension built inside and outside the house, Anna's mind raced. She had a decision to make: stay hidden and let the situation unfold, or step out and confront these men head-on. The silence between them was deafening, and as the wind howled through the trees, it was clear this quiet town would never be the same again. The final confrontation was inevitable, but what side would Anna choose? Would she protect the secrets of her past, or reveal them to survive? The night stretched on, and the tension between Anna and the Outlaws thickened with every passing minute. Colt was growing impatient. His men had been waiting outside for hours, watching the house, but there was no sign of Anna making a move. Something wasn't right, and it gnawed at him. He signaled to Jake, who hesitated for a moment before reluctantly approaching the door. The plan had been simple: break in, take what they could, and leave before anyone noticed. But Anna's eerie calmness was starting to crack the foundation of that plan. Inside, Anna's hand rested on a drawer, one that held the weapons she had hidden away years ago, just in case. Her mind was clear, focused. She could hear the footsteps outside, the creaking of floorboards, and the occasional whisper between the men. She knew they were getting closer, but so was the truth. She had no intention of waiting around to be caught off guard. She'd spent a lifetime being prepared for moments like this, but even she didn't know what would happen next. Jake, standing just outside the door, felt a cold sweat trickling down his spine. He glanced back at Colt, who was growing more agitated by the second. Something's wrong. Jake, standing just outside the door, felt a cold sweat trickling down his spine. He glanced back at Colt, who was growing more agitated by the second. Something's wrong, Jake muttered, barely audible. Colt shot him a sharp look, his eyes narrowing. Just get it done, Jake. We don't have all night. The door opened with a creak. Jake stepped in first, gun raised. Anna, he called out, his voice steady but unsure. We're not here to hurt you. Just cooperate, and this will go smoothly. But Anna didn't answer. Instead, she let the silence hang in the air like a weight pressing down on them all. Colt entered behind Jake, his eyes scanning the room for any signs of resistance. Then, without warning, the tension snapped. Anna moved faster than anyone expected, her hand flashing out to grab the gun hidden under the table. In one smooth motion, she rolled to the side, drawing the weapon as she went. Before Colt or Jake could react, she had both men pinned, their guns on the ground. You should have left when you had the chance, Anna said, her voice calm, but with an edge that sent chills through the men. But just as the standoff reached its boiling point, a new sound echoed from outside the house, a car pulling up, its engine turning off. The men froze, eyes darting toward the windows. It was too late to back out now, but Anna had one more move to make. Her past wasn't done with her yet, and the game was about to change. Whoever was stepping out of that car wasn't just a random bystander. They had come for Anna. The question was, who were they, and why had they come tonight? The car door slammed shut, followed by the unmistakable crunch of boots on gravel. Colt, still kneeling with his hands raised, exchanged a glance with Jake. Both of them instinctively turned toward the windows, trying to get a glimpse of the newcomer. But the figure was hidden in shadow, making it impossible to see who was approaching. Anna, however, remained eerily calm. She had expected this. The last time she'd been caught in a trap like this, the agency had sent someone to clean up the mess. But she had a feeling this time was different. This wasn't just about her anymore. This wasn't just a simple retrieval. Someone else was involved. The footsteps grew louder, closer. Then, without warning, the door to the house flew open, and a tall, imposing figure stepped inside. But it wasn't an agent. It wasn't anyone from her past. The man who entered was wearing military gear, a face she didn't recognize. But the eyes were familiar. Too familiar. Anna, the man said, his voice cold and commanding. We need to talk. The words hit her like a punch to the gut. Her blood ran cold. This was someone from the deepest corners of her past, someone she thought she'd erased from existence, the last person she ever wanted to see again. And now, after all these years, he had come to finish what he'd started. Colt and Jake, caught between Anna's unexpected calm and the newcomer's silent menace, were at her loss. They had no idea who this man was, but his presence shifted the dynamic completely. The tension in the room thickened, as if the walls themselves were closing in. Anna's fingers tightened around the grip of her weapon. She knew she couldn't let her guard down, not now. The danger was multiplying by the second, and she was trapped between two conflicting forces. The Outlaws was still a threat, but this new player, this man with the eyes that haunted her, carried a much darker weight. I don't know what you think. The man's lips curled into a faint smile, his eyes never leaving Anna. You've been hiding for too long, he said, his voice low. It's time to finish what we started. Anna didn't flinch. Instead, she stepped forward, gun still steady in her hand. I'm done running, she said, her voice cold, final. In a swift motion, she disarmed the man, knocking him to the ground with surprising force. The Outlaws, stunned by the turn of events, watched in disbelief as Anna took control. She had turned the tables. Again, without a word, she moved to the door, calling out to Colt and Jake. "Get out while you still can. This fight isn't yours." Colt hesitated, his pride stung, but the fear in his eyes was unmistakable. With a nod, he and Jake fled into the night, leaving Anna to face the ghosts of her past alone. As the dust settled, Anna stood in the quiet of her home. She had won for now, but she knew this wasn't the end. The world she had tried to escape was waiting for her, just beyond the horizon.